Well, I suppose we could form an interdepartmental committee to examine the feasibility of monitoring a proposal for admitting patients at an earlier date.
How long would that take to report?
Oh, not long.
How long?
Oh, about 18 months.
Yeah. Well, I suggest that we get rid of all the staff currently employed at that hospital and use the money saved to open closed wards in other hospitals.
Minister!
When we can afford it, we open St. Edward's with medical staff, if you would be so kind.
Minister, if you do that, you will delay the opening of St. Edward's for patients for years.
Why?
Well, you talk as if the staff had nothing to do simply because there are no patients there.
What do they do?
Oh, really, Minister? There are a large number of extremely busy departments. First, there's a contingency department for fires, strikes, air raids, nuclear war, epidemics, food or water poisoning. In such a crisis, the local general hospital is a key centre for survival. Then there's the Data and Research Department, who at this moment are conducting a full-scale demographic survey of the catchment area. We have to anticipate the future requirements for maternity, geriatrics, pediatrics, and the male-female balance. Then, thirdly, there's finance, of course, projected accounts, balance sheets, and cash flow budgets. Then there's the purchasing department for purchasing medical and other equipment, examining estimates, looking at price lists and catalogues.
Purchasing what?
Well, everything, Minister. Everything from brain scanners to Brasso. May I continue?
Be briefer.
No? Would that I could, Minister. But I'm afraid you do need to understand. Fifth, there's the technical department for evaluating equipment. Sixth, there's the building department, which deals with the Phase 3 building plans, costing and so forth, for the final phase of the hospital, which should be completed by 1994. Then there's maintenance, cleaning and catering, personnel in charge of leave, national health insurance, salaries, as well as some staff welfare officers to look after the over 500 employees, and finally, administration.
Oh, administrators. More administrators to administrate the other administrators.
But this is important work, Minister. The typing pool, stationery, desks, office furniture and equipment, liaison between departments.
I can't tell whether you're being serious or not.
What do you mean?
Humphrey, there are no patients. That is what a hospital is for. Patients. Ill people. Healing the sick.
But, Minister, all these vital tasks that I've just listed must be carried out with or without patients.
Why?
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 I don't understand.
I don't know how else I can express it. Why?
Well, would you get rid of the army just because there was no war?
That is completely different. A hospital must produce results.
Minister, we don't measure our success by results, but by activity, and the activity is considerable and productive. Those 500 people are seriously overworked. Of course, the full establishment should be 650. May I show you some of the paperwork emanating from St. Edward's?
No, Humphrey. No, you may not. Enough is enough. Sack them.
Oh, out of the question, Minister. We need our administrators, otherwise the hospital will never open.
Well, sack the ancillary staff.
Equally impossible. The unions won't wear it.
Well, sack half the administrators, half the ancillary staff, and use the money saved to get some doctors and nurses and open some wards.
Oh, Minister,
No,
really.
no, Humphrey, no, that is my last word.
Please,
no,
Minister.
No, my last word. You may go.
Very well, Minister. I shall have a word with the health service unions. But I don't hold out much hope.
Go. How about a drink before we go home, Bernard?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Minister.
I thought that all went very well this morning at the hospital, didn't you, Bernard?
Yes, Minister.
I wasn't standing any argument, you know.
No, Minister.
Threatening to go on strike. Played right into my hands. Cheers.
Cheers.
Here, aren't we missing the news?
But our diplomatic correspondent says that the United States is now putting considerable pressure on the British government to take in some Cuban refugees. The government has made no official comment.
Of course not. Haven't got the money.
All workers in National Health Service hospitals in the Greater London area are to go on strike at Friday midnight. A row has blown up at St. Edward's Hospital in London over the proposed laying off of 170 ancillary workers. We spoke to union activist Billy Fraser.
We are striking against unemployment. We could bring London's hospitals to a complete standstill. There will be no blood transfusions during operations, no cancer treatment, nothing, until we have brought back the compassionate society.
How can you do this to patients?
We're not doing it. It's Mr. Hacker that's doing it.
Shouldn't you think twice before inflicting these terrible sanctions on innocent members of the public?
I can assure you, and I'd like to take this opportunity to assure the general public that every stone will be left unturned in a search for the settlement.
Minister, have you seen the news?
Yes.
You said you were going to talk to the union.
Yes, I know.
Well, what are we going to do?
Well, at the moment, we have an even more serious problem. Sir Maurice Williams' independent inquiry about the department.
Well?
It looks as though it's going to be unfavourable to us.
But you said he was sound.
Yes,
you said he wanted a peerage.
I know, but apparently he's also working his peerage in his capacity as chairman of the Joint Committee for the Resettlement of Refugees.
I see, and I suppose there are more brownie points to be got from refugees than from government inquiries.
Precisely, Minister.
Doesn't he realise we haven't got the money to rehouse these refugees?
Well,
Minister,
I don't care who it is, I don't want to talk to them.
it's number 10.
Hello, Jim. Yes, quite. Yes, I see. Not at all. Thank you. Number 10 has also seen Billy Fraser on the news. They hope that a peace formula can be reached very soon.
Well, on top of everything, Sir Maurice Williams says he'll be satisfied only if the United Kingdom will take and house 1,000 refugees.
But we haven't the money for these refugees.
Exactly.
We haven't even the money for a 1,000-bed hospital. How many refugees did you say Sir Maurice wanted us to take?
1,000?
1,000 refugees. 1,000 beds. Fully staffed.
Minister, that hospital is for sick British, not healthy foreigners. There's a huge waiting list for it.
Didn't you just say that Sir Maurice's independent inquiry was likely to come down against the department?
But that's got...
Well, is that what you want?
Yes, I see your point, Minister.
Bernard, reinstate all the workers at St Edward's and tell Sir Maurice that we can offer him a new hospital with accommodation for 1,000 refugees, and tell the press that it was my decision and that everybody's happy.
Do you want to give them a quote, Minister?
Well, why not? Say, it was a tough decision, but a necessary one. Britain is to retain the name of,
The Compassionate Society, Minister?
Thank you, Humphrey. The Compassionate Society. You got that, Bernard?
Oh, yes, Minister.
No, please.
But I was a little bit worried about this idea of your ministers. Linking honours to economies and all that.
Oh, that? You've heard about that. A lot of nonsense.
Ah, good. You mean it's not true?
Well, not exactly. That is, he did just mention it. But,
But what?
well, I can't find any effective arguments against it.
Humphrey, this is the thin end of the wedge.
That's what I said.
A Benite solution.
I said that.
There
That's what I said. No, it's intolerable, but irresistible.
Yes, well, I'm not in any sense reprimanding you. I don't know the facts well enough. But as head of the service, I would like your assurance that he won't be putting it into practice.
Well, I certainly hope he won't be.
I'm not sure that hopes are quite good enough. Suppose he did apply it to your department. The contagion would spread throughout the government. Every department. So presumably we can count on you.
Well, I shall certainly try. But it's rather tricky.
Well, I'm sure you know what you're doing, but this could cause people to reflect on your soundness. Of course, I have no doubts about you myself, but anyway, I thought it might be useful to have a little chat.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Arnold.
Oh, by the way, I had the master of our old college on the phone just now. He said you dined at Bailey last week.
That's right.
I told him I was sure you'd get your minister to treat them as a special case. I hope I was right.
Yes. Well, at any rate, I got the minister coming down to a benefactor's dinner.
Good. Sound man. Well, I must be getting over to number 10. Thanks for dropping in, Humphrey.
Oh, pleasure. Arnold.
gather Sir Humphrey saw the Cabinet Secretary yesterday and got the most frightful wigging.
Really?
Yes, really tore him off a strip. Because of your brilliant scheme linking economies to honours.
Your scheme, you mean, Bernard?
I think we've been through all that before.
Sorry. My scheme. How does the Cabinet Secretary give a wigging to someone as high up as Humphrey?
Well, normally I gather it's pretty civilised, but this time apparently it was no holds barred. Sir Arnold told Sir Humphrey he wasn't actually reprimanding him.
Bad as that, was it?
Yes. He actually suggested that some people might not think Sir Humphrey was sound.
A real punch-up.
Yes, indeed.
Well, what has Sir Arnold to fear, anyway? He's got all the honours he could want, surely.
Well, naturally he has his G.
G?
Yes, you get your G after your K.
You speak in riddles, Bernard.
Well, take the Foreign Office. First you get the CMG, then the KCMG, then the GCMG. The Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George, Knight Commander of St. Michael and St. George, Knight Grand Cross of St. Michael and St. George. Of course, in the service, CMG stands for Call Me God. And the KCMG for Kindly Call Me God.
What does GCMG stand for?
God Calls Me God.
Why should Sir Arnold worry? He's got his full quota of honours, hasn't he?
Certainly not. Nowhere near. There's a peerage, the CH, the OM, the Order of the Garter, the Knight of the Thistle,
Knight of the Thistle? Who gets that? Scotsmen and donkeys?
There is a distinction, Minister.
You evidently haven't met the Scottish nationalists. How do they award the Thistle?
A committee sits on it.
Now it looks that there'll be no college left to remember.
Unless, of course, we can solve the problem of the overseas student crowd.
Well, of course, one would like to help oneself, help one's friends, help the college. Nothing to do with the honour.
Of course not.
Of course not. Ignoble thought.
The minister has always believed that it is a politician's duty to help others.
Absolutely. Name of the game. I mean, that's why we go into politics. To help others. I'm an idealist, really. I mean, it's nothing to do with the honour. As far as I can see, most of the honour comes after you're dead. Not much satisfaction to be gained out of having your name inscribed on the silver sconce when you're 6 feet under.
Incidentally, Master, to change the subject completely. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
When you award your honorary doctorate?
Well, the actual ceremony is not for a few months, but we have to make a final decision in just 2 weeks.
Honorary doctorate?
Aren't they already decided?
There is one doctorate of law still to be decided. We're wondering whether it should go to a judge or to someone in government.
Judge? You don't want to make a judge a doctor of law. The politicians who make the laws and pass the laws. I mean, if it wasn't for politicians, the judges wouldn't be able to judge. I mean, there'd be no laws to judge. You know what I mean? They'd have nothing to do. I mean, there'd be queues of unemployed judges in silly wigs. It's all right for judges. They don't have to suck up to TV producers. Don't have to lie to journalists. Don't have to pretend to like their cabinet colleagues. You know something else? Well, I'll tell you. If judges had to put up with some of my cabinet colleagues, they'd bring capital punishment back tomorrow. Bloody good job, too.
Oh, well, exactly.
Now, I'll tell you another thing. I can't send him to prison. Can't send him to prison. Now, if I were a judge, I could whiz old Humpy off to the scrubs, no trouble. Feet wouldn't touch. Clang, bang. See you in 3 years' time. 1/3 remission for good conduct. I can't do that. I have to listen to him. Oh, God. On and on and on. Some of his sentences are longer than Judge Jeffrey's. No. Politicians are much more deserving. You don't want to give your doctorate honorates to judges. Definitely not.
Beautifully argued, Minister. I see now, you know, we shouldn't give it to a judge.
You put the case most expertly.
Almost like a doctor of laws, Minister. In fact, do you know, I can see you there now, in the Sheldonian, standing there in those magnificent crimson robes, receiving your doctorate from in front of an enormous assembly of eminent scholars. Wonderful.
Marvellous.
How funny you should say that. I was just thinking the same thing.
Yes. Oh, yes, I'll come down. Commander Forrest of the Special Branch. Shall I bring him in?
Oh, yes, please do.
The Special Branch have informed the Home Secretary, and he's recommended detectives to protect you. This man is here to inform you.
Detectives? They can't protect you against the assassin's bullet, can they? Nobody can.
No, certainly not, Minister, but they can determine that the assassin is brought to trial after the victim has been gunned down, of course.
Commander Forrest of the Special Branch.
Good morning, Commander.
Good morning, Commander.
Good morning, sir.
Do sit down.
Thank you, sir. You've been told about this list, sir.
List? What list? Oh, list, yes.
If I can just brief you on the standard hazards and routine precautions.
Yes, thank you, Ben.
I suppose I don't have to take this sort of thing too seriously, do I?
Well, in a sense, that's up to you, sir. We do advise you...
I can see that most people might be in a frightful funk, but I mean, it's really all part of the job, isn't it? I mean, all in a day's work.
I admire your courage, sir.
Right, well, shoot. I mean,
Well, assassination hazards fall broadly into 4 categories. That's bullets, bombs, poisons, and so-called accidents. Of course, there's also gassing, throttling, stabbing, drowning, garrotting, and ritual disemboweling, but they are relatively uncommon in the UK.
that's all right, then.
Yes, let's start with bullets, shall we? Obviously, there's your assassin on a tall building or in a car, your killer who creeps up to you in a crowd, and there's your unexpected house caller, your marksman in a parked van, and the revolver through the window of your car. So, avoid crowds and always keep away from windows.
Commander, could I suggest perhaps we have bulletproof curtains for the office?
Bulletproof.
They'll be here by lunchtime, sir. And we'll fit them in your London flat and your constituency residence when we do the whole place over.
Do it over?
Yes, just the usual special locks, sweeps, security alarms, 24-hour patrols by the local staff, that sort of thing, phone taps, so on.
Just the usual thing.
Yes. You'll have a bodyguard of several men all round the clock, so never answer your own front door in person, and keep your car windows up and the doors locked while you're driving. Never draw up the car on the pavement side at traffic lights. You don't want a terrorist to jump in and kidnap you, do you, sir?
No.
Of course you don't. Now, if he draws his car across in front of yours, don't ram it in the middle. Go for one of the axles and sweep it aside.
Sweep it aside.
That's it. Now, bombs. Car bombs, you know all about the letter and the parcel, so never open any yourself. But for the time being, I'm having them redirected. Now, poisons, well, obviously, you're going to be suspicious of any gifts of food or drink, chocolate, sweets, and so on, but check the milk bottle caps every morning for hypodermic holes. And don't forget the old umbrella with the poison needle in the ferrule jabbed into the calf. All right, sir. Now, accidents, right. Never walk along the outside edge of any pavement, river, jetty, wharf, or railway platform. We don't want to make it too easy for them, do we, sir? Especially the electric railway, so avoid the tube. Electrocution, yes, that's another of their favourites. Little tinkering with the telly, the kettle, the fire, the toaster, the hi-fi, the electric blanket, and Bob's your uncle. Your late uncle. So they have to be checked every time. Any questions? Good. Well, here's your list of standard safety precautions. I'll be in touch.
Oh, thank you, Commander.
Oh, if you are pushed out of a high window and there's iron railings underneath, try and land on your head. Quicker.
Well, I don't follow. You say that you're out to stop bugging and phone tapping. And now you get this petition, 2.25 million signatures, a terrific boost for your case, and you won't even give me a quote saying you welcome it. What about a promise to implement its main recommendations?
Well, it's not quite as simple as that, Walter.
Why not?
Well, there are security implications.
There always were. OK, I think I'll make it an even bigger story. Minister rejects his own petition.
No, hold on.
Are you accepting it or rejecting it?
No.
My editor wants me to ask if being on the Freedom Army death list has altered your views on phone tapping in any way.
Oh, good heavens, no. Good heavens, what a extraordinary idea.
But how else am I to explain this sudden change of tune?
No change of tune.
Can Sir Humphrey have a moment?
I'm so sorry.
Humphrey, what can we do for you?
Well,
would you excuse us?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I won't be a minute.
I'll wait out there.
Thank you so much. Well, did you have a good weekend, Minister?
Oh, marvellous. Just me and Annie and half of the special branch.
Oh, yeah.
All those romantic Rozzers with Smith & Wessons under their armpits. Unforgettable.
The burdens of office.
This can't go on, Humphrey.
Now, I'm glad you said that, Minister, because it isn't going to. We've just heard from the special branch that your protection is being withdrawn.
Oh, now, wait a minute. I didn't mean... Why?
Well, the police have suffered an acute personnel establishment shortfall.
What?
They're short-staffed, so they can no longer continue protecting you.
Short-staffed?
It's because of a much more real and dangerous threat to the Soviet Premier at the Chequers meeting tomorrow.
But he's Russian. I'm British.
Well, in fact, Minister, the special branch have reason to believe that the threat to your life has been diminished.
How do they know?
Surveillance. They overheard a conversation.
What did it say?
Oh, I don't think it's of any
Come
particular...
on, Humphrey, I have a right to know.
Well, it was a conversation to the effect that, in view of the somewhat nebulous and inexplicit nature of your remit and the arguably marginal and peripheral nature of your influence on the central deliberations and decisions within the political process, that there could be a case for restructuring their action priorities in such a way as to eliminate your liquidation from their immediate agenda.
They said that?
That was the gist of it.
What does it mean in English?
Well, it means that they don't think that you're really important enough for it to be worth assassinating you.
Oh.
Now, I don't agree with them, of course.
Oh, you mean they did...
What?
You mean they should assassinate?
No.
You mean you don't think I'm important enough?
No. I mean you are important enough, but they shouldn't assassinate you anyway.
Well, that's marvellous, isn't it? Not that I was ever really worried.
What's the British Chemical Corporation up to in my constituency?
Well...
They will shortly be announcing a very exciting project involving new jobs and new investment.
Yes, but there's some very worrying rumours about this new project.
Such as?
Rumours about dangerous chemicals.
Well, all chemicals are dangerous. It just depends.
The Minister means that the rumours are completely unfounded and there's no cause for alarm.
All the same, can I have your assurance, Jim, that first of all there'll be a full public inquiry?
Actually, public inquiry might not be
The
a bad
Minister was
idea.
about to say there's absolutely no need for a public inquiry. The matter has been fully investigated already and a report will be issued shortly.
Listen, I came here to talk to Jim.
And indeed you are talking to him.
But he's not answering, you are.
The Minister and I are of one mind.
Whose mind? Your mind?
Oh.
Listen, I've heard on the grapevine that this factory will be making the chemical that poisoned Cerveso in North Italy.
No, that's not true. No.
Isn't it?
The chemical in Cerveso was dioxin. This is metadioxin.
But that must be virtually the same thing.
No, it's just a similar name.
It's the same name with meta stuck on the front.
And that makes all the difference.
Why? What does meta mean?
What does meta mean, Humphrey?
Oh, it's quite simple. It means with or after or sometimes beyond. It's from the Greek, of course.
Of course.
In other words, with or after dioxin, sometimes beyond dioxin. It depends whether it's the accusative or the genitive. With the accusative, it's beyond or after. With the genitive, it's with. As in Latin, of course, as you no doubt obviously recall, where the ablative is used for words needing a sense of with to precede them.
But of course there isn't an ablative in Greek, is there?
Well done, Bernard. Well done.
You see?
Not exactly, no.
Oh dear, I should have thought that was perfectly plain.
What I insist on knowing is what is the actual difference between dioxin and metadioxin.
Well, it's quite simple. Metadioxin is an inert compound of dioxin.
Oh, what?
Yes, I think I follow that, Humphrey. But could you explain it a little more clearly?
In what sense, Minister?
What does inert mean?
It means it's not... ert.
Wouldn't hurt a fly.
What did you say, Bernard?
Oh, nothing, Minister.
But what does that mean in practical terms?
What do you mean chemically?
Yes, chemically.
Yes, what does it mean chemically, Humphrey?
Well, I'm not sure I can explain it in layman's language, Minister. It's,
Do you know any chemistry, Humphrey?
No, of course not, Minister. I was in the scholarship form. Classics.
And what's a compound while we're at it?
Don't you know any chemistry either?
No, do you?
We ought to, oughtn't we?
Well, a compound is, it's... Well, you know what compound interest is?
Yes.
Yes. Well, jolly good thing to enjoy compound interest. Well, that's the sort of thing a compound is.
Yes, well, that's it then. To sum up, I think we're all of the same mind, broadly speaking, about this, and we're ready to go ahead with the proposals.
Here we are.
I've said no such thing.
We're agreed that the only difference is in the name, dioxin and metadioxin. It's like Littler and Hitler. I mean, nobody's suggesting you're like Adolf Hitler just because their names are rather the same.
That's not the point.
Well, what is the point?
The point is that this factory is in my constituency.
But it'll be good for the constituency. More jobs, more money. The only people we can possibly offend would be a few cranky environmentalists. At most, I should say, it couldn't cost us more than about 100 votes.
My majority is 91.
How does it feel, Richard, to move from the Commons to the Lords?
Like moving from animals to the vegetables. Oh, thank you, my dear. Good to see you, Pete. Now, come and meet an old friend of mine, Jim Hacker. Jim, this is Professor Henderson.
Professor Henderson?
I must say I didn't expect to see the minister.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Yes. What a coincidence.
You two know each other, then?
Well, we haven't actually met.
No, but I'm writing a report for the minister's department.
Well, what a coincidence.
Yes, what a coincidence.
Extraordinary coincidence.
Now, I expect you're very happy with my report?
Oh, absolutely. Delighted. You must have worked very hard.
Well, most of the work was done by the FDA in Washington.
Ah, well, if you'll excuse me, I'll go and help my wife with the tea.
Tell me, have you ever written a government report before?
No.
Because, you know, your name will be on it forevermore. The Henderson Report. It's a kind of immortality.
Yes, I hadn't thought of it like that.
And you, if anything were to go wrong...
Go wrong?
If this metadioxin were to turn out to be not quite as safe as you say it is, your career, very courageous.
None of the standard tests on metadioxin show any evidence of teratogenic toxicity.
Standard tests, quite.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, I was making a few notes in the train as I was coming down. And of course I'm not a biochemist, but it would appear that the American report leaves some important questions unanswered.
Well...
And some of the evidence is inconclusive, some of the findings have been questioned, and the figures are open to other interpretations.
Yes, but all figures
and
are open.
different results might come from a wider and more detailed study over a longer time scale.
Well, obviously...
Yes, but you see, if anything were to go wrong, I mean, even in 10 years' time, a delayed effect, the press would go straight to your report. And if it were to turn out that you'd ever... Well, for instance, done laboratory trials for a multinational drug company.
That was 15 years ago.
14. You know what the press is like, even if there's no basis. No smoke without a fire could be a millstone. And the press would be absolutely merciless, especially the popular press. I mean, if anything went wrong, death agony of Henderson Report victims.
Yes. Yes. I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't alter the evidence. Metadioxin is a safe drug. The report has to say so.
Oh, quite. I can see you have no choice.
Come along, you two. Stop talking shop. Our professor of economics is dying to talk to you.
Oh, dear.
You're not worried about this report, are you, though, Peter? You know, I've done lots of these things. It's only the phrasing of the conclusion that you have to worry about. That's all the press ever read. Now, how does it end up now?
Well, I just say, on the existing evidence, the committee can see no reason not to proceed.
Yes. Well, it's just a question of a tiny little bit of redrafting. While the committee feel there's no reason for them not to proceed on the existing evidence, it must be emphasized that metadioxin is a comparatively recent compound, and it would be irresponsible to deny that after further research, its manufacture might be proved to be associated with health risks, something of that sort.
Yes, yes, well, that seems perfectly fair. Could you just say that again?
Better than that. I'll jot it down for you.
Good evening, Sir Humphrey.
Oh, good evening, Major.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you very much. Arnold, when will we know about the reshuffle?
A little while yet.
Any news yet about my department?
Give me a chance, Humphrey. I'm only Cabinet Secretary. I'm not the political correspondent of the New Standard.
But how does my minister stand?
Oh, I think the Prime Minister feels he's done all right. But there's been an interesting development.
Ah. What?
Brussels have asked if he'd be available for the next commissionership, if he wanted it. After all, he's a good European, in strict confidence.
So you think that he might be gently eased out?
Well, Sir Humphrey, sir.
Oh, there you are, Bernard. Yes, good. Right.
Fine.
Would you like a coffee, Bernard?
Oh, thank you very much.
Pull up a chair. George, bring a coffee, would you? Well, Bernard, how do you feel about having a new minister?
Do you mean he's...
No, no, Sir Humphrey is merely conjecturing.
Ah. Well, of course, I'd be very sorry. Why? Wouldn't you?
Well, of course not.
But the minister's just starting to get a grip on the job.
Exactly.
Ministers with a grip on the job are a bit of a nuisance, you know.
They argue.
But all ministers argue.
Yes, but if they've got a grip on the job, there's a real danger that they might be right. One tells them that something is impossible, and they dig out an old paper in which one had said it was easy. Very tedious.
The moment they've gone, one can wipe the slate clean and start again with a new boy. Wonderful things, reshuffles. And prime ministers like them too. Fresh, decisive, keeps everyone on the hop. It's only ministers who panic about them.
Wouldn't it be interesting if ministers were fixed and permanent secretaries were shuffled around?
That, Bernard, would strike at the very heart of the system that has made Britain what she is today.
Power goes with permanence.
Impermanence is impotence.
And rotation is castration. It's time they all had a little spin.
Yes, but surely in a democracy...
Thank you, Bernard. That'll be all.
Yes, but I've only just...
Thank you, Bernard.
Yes, thank you, Sir Humphrey. Good night, Sir Arnold.
Though if your minister does take Brussels, I wouldn't get out the champagne too soon, Humphrey.
What do you mean?
There is talk of his possible successor at your department.
Ooh. Who?
I don't quite know how to put this, but, well, Basil Corbett.
Yes, fine.
What's it about?
It's the proposed visit to the Word Processing Conference in Brussels.
Ah, the Word Processing Conference. Ah, Humphrey, you'll be pleased to hear that I've changed my mind. I shall be going to Brussels after all.
You're resigning from the Department of Administrative Affairs?
No. I'm talking about this Word Processing Conference.
Oh, I see.
But I would like to see Brussels for myself, anyway.
Why?
Why not?
Why not indeed, but why?
I'm a curious person.
You certainly are, Minister.
And I think I've been a little hasty. I found your arguments on behalf of Brussels thoroughly convincing.
Minister, I've been reflecting on your views, and I find much truth and wisdom in your criticism of Brussels.
No.
Now, you've implied that it is corrupt, and you've opened my eyes, Minister.
Humphrey,
Minister, please.
Humphrey, it is you who have convinced me.
No, Minister.
No, I am now convinced that Brussels is full of dedicated men, all bearing a heavy burden of travel and entertainment. They need all that luxury, the odd drinking.
Caviar and champagne, private planes, air-conditioned Mercedes.
Well, it oils the diplomatic wheels, you know, Humphrey.
Snouts in the trough.
That is not an attractive phrase.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't think where I picked it up.
So we'll all go to this conference in Brussels, shall we agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Is your change of heart about Brussels entirely to do with my argument?
Yes, of course, dear.
It wouldn't have anything to do with the rumour that you've been offered a post in Brussels yourself.
Humphrey, that thought is not worthy of you. There is such a thing as integrity.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Corbett, you can't let someone like Corbett... You simply can't let someone like Corbett loose on the department. It'd be disastrous. I mean, everything one says to Corbett appears in the Sun the next morning.
Glad to know you read the Sun.
Oh, but you... Yes, you really must stop it, Arnold. I implore you.
I'm not the Prime Minister.
No, but it is really you who arranges the reshuffle, though, isn't it? Hmm?
Oh, no. If there's an appointment the PM is really set on, the Cabinet Secretary must reluctantly acquiesce.
But, I mean, you do keep your hand on the tiller.
Well, if Hacker decides to turn down Brussels, it will make it a lot easier to keep Corbett away from your department.
Well, I'm afraid that's just the trouble. I think he's going to take Brussels.
Oh.
Yes, I know. He says he believes in the European ideal. Yes, I know. But you know how it is with politicians. They get taken in by their own speeches.
This is partly your fault, you know, Humphrey. You've blocked Hacker time and again.
What? Only in the interests of good government, Arnold.
Oh, quite. But what you really need now is for Hacker to have a big success in the next day or two.
A big success?
Yes.
In the next day or two?
That would give the PM a very good case for keeping him where he is. Then we might be able to move Corbett to employment.
Oh, why? Is Fred definitely going?
Yes, keeps falling asleep in cabinet.
I thought they all did.
Yes, but not while they're actually talking.
You know, things are changing fast. We live in a world of change. The silicon chip is changing our lives. The quality of life is becoming more and more important. The environment, conservation, problems of pollution, the future of our children, and our children's children. These are today's issues. There is, quite rightly, an increasing concern about high-rise buildings. I'm happy to be able to reassure all of you who are members of the Architectural Association. I'm so sorry.
Yesterday's speech. Well, that's the one I had, Minister.
No, you've got to come on.
Look in your inside pocket, Minister.
You didn't.
No, please.
So sorry. I made a speech yesterday. Anyway, this is life. It's a great pleasure to be here with you all at the City Farm today. You know, things are changing fast. We live in a world of change. The silicon chip changing our lives. The quality of life is becoming more and more important. The environment, conservation, pollution, future of our children's children. These are today's issues. The City Farm movement is a welcome and important addition to the way of life for children in inner cities. And we in the government feel that they have a vital part to play in our children's educational and social life. And we shall do all we can to help this movement to flourish. Happy birthday.
Sue Lawley's just arrived. Can we do the interview now, please?
Yes, set it up with the most attractive children and animals, would you?
Of course.
Thank you for saying that, Minister.
It was a pleasure.
Can we really rely on your support?
Well, of course you can.
You see, our lease is running out at the end of the year, and we have to get it extended.
Well, that isn't quite within my sphere of influence, but I'll certainly do all I can to help this movement to flourish.
Minister, would you come and do the interview now?
Yes.
This is Sue Lawley of Nationwide.
Lawley, what a very great pleasure. I do believe I'm one of your greatest fans. Probably the greatest.
Sorry to butt in, Minister, but could we have a moment or two for the children and staff to get autographs?
Oh, autographs, certainly. Yes, all right. Come on. Come on, that's enough. Come on, yes, come on.
So sorry.
Now, what was it you wanted to say in this interview,
Well,
sir?
I thought if we could begin, I would ask a couple of questions of the warden and then come to you for your comments.
Yes, certainly. Where would you like us to be?
I think on the edge here, really, with
Right.
perhaps some animals and some children.
Oh, yes. Fine. Splendid.
Super. Well,
Mrs.
if we
Phillips,
could,
would you Madam Minister, please?
Thank you so much. Sweet little girl here on your knee, Mr. Hacker. It was super. Just lovely. Thank you.
All right, come on. Let's get on with it, shall we?
Turn over.
Come on. Running.
We're running, Sue.
Warden, I understand that the lease of this wonderful city farm is due to run out at the end of the year.
Yes, we have been very worried about this. But I've just had a word with the Minister, Mr. Hacker here. And he has indicated that he will make sure that this farm can carry on.
Minister, how are you going to ensure that the city farm keeps on running?
You see, Sue, the fact is, and let me make this perfectly clear, the quality of life is becoming more and more important. The environment, conservation, problems of pollution, the future of our children. And our children's children, these are today's issues.
Minister, thank you very much indeed.
Cut. Thank you. Mrs. Phillips, Minister.
Who's Mrs. Phillips?
The warden of the city farm you visited yesterday.
Ah! She pleased with the publicity I got for her?
Well, she doesn't seem too pleased.
Why not?
She's just heard the farm is being closed. Well, the lease is up at the end of the year, and she just heard it's being turned into a car park for inland revenue inspectors.
Oh, God. What will they say about this?
Children and animals evicted by taxmen. Minister goes back on TV pledge.
Oh, my heavens. This must be stopped. But don't just stand there. Do something, Bill. What idiot authorised that?
You did, Minister. What? The administrative order you signed yesterday giving government departments power to take over local authority land. Section 7, subsection 3...
Get me Humphrey.
Yes, he's on his way, Minister. And I'm afraid Mrs. Phillips is waiting in the private office.
Phillips is the last person I want to see. This is the greatest disaster of this century, Bernard.
There were 2 world wars.
Oh, Bernard. Fighting on the beaches is one thing. Evicting cuddly animals and children to make room for tax inspectors' cars is quite another league. Ah, Humphrey.
Oh, Minister, I saw you on television last night. What a treat.
Never mind about television. What's this about the city farm being closed?
Ah, yes. Well, the Treasury acting
Yeah,
under
but it's got to be stopped.
Well, unfortunately, it is a Treasury decision and beyond our jurisdiction.
I shall revoke the order.
Well, unfortunately, that is impossible, or very difficult, or highly inadvisable, or would require legislation, one of those. In any case, it could not invalidate an action taken while the order was in force.
I don't care if he's with the Queen and the Pope.
What?
Judas!
Hey, look here.
You promised to support us.
Well, and so I
Then
did.
you must see that our lease is renewed.
Well, dear lady, I'm afraid it's not within the minister's...
Mr. Hacker, you have given your word.
Yeah,
Are you going to keep it?
Well, of course, I shall leave no stone unturned, every avenue, everything done that is humanly possible.
You mean no?
No. I mean, yes, I mean, no. No, yes, I mean, well, definitely not. No, yes. I mean, no.
Very well. Don't say I haven't warned you. My husband is deputy features editor of The Express. Tomorrow morning, your name will be manure. You will be roasted alive by the whole of the national press.
Well, it falls to few people to be within the space of 24 hours both St. Francis and St. Joan.
Humphrey, something must be done to stop this farm closing. Otherwise, I shall look a complete...
Yes. Oh, apparently Sir Desmond Glazebrook's outside.
Glazebrook, what does he want?
I can't imagine.
Better send him in.
Yeah, send him in. After all, this is open day at the Department of Administrative Affairs.
Minister, I just happened to be passing. I've had an idea.
Oh, really?
If you were to give us permission for an extra 9 stories...
9? You're only asking for 6.
Ah, yes, but if you were to give us 9 extra stories, we could postpone Phase 3 for 7 years. That would leave this side vacant.
Well?
Well, I was reading this morning in the Financial Times about your visit to the city farm. I thought it was a jolly good wheeze. And you see, our Phase 3 site is only 200 yards from it, so you could use it to extend the farm. Or if they had to move for any reason, it's actually a bit larger. We thought of calling it the James Hacker cuddly animal sanctuary. Well, animal sanctuary, anyway. And 9 stories really isn't very much, is it?
James Hacker, animal sanctuary. You know, Humphrey, I think government has got to be awfully careful about throttling small businesses.
The bank isn't actually a small business.
It would be if we throttled it, Bernard.
Well, Bernard, how have you enjoyed having your minister out of the office for a week?
Oh, not very much.
Haven't you?
No, it makes things very difficult.
Oh, Bernard. A minister's absence is a godsend. You can do the job properly for once. No silly questions, no bright ideas, no fussing about what the papers are saying. Do you know, Bernard, I sometimes think our minister doesn't believe that he exists unless he's reading about himself in the papers. I'll bet you the first thing he says when he gets into the office is, any press reports on my Washington speech?
How much do you bet?
£1.
Done. He won't, because he's already asked. In the car on the way back from Heathrow.
You're learning, Bernard.
Thank you.
So you see why a minister's absence is a good thing?
Oh, yes, but so much work piles up.
Splendid. There we are. What with a couple of days' briefing before he goes and the debriefing and backlog when he gets back, we can keep him out of the department's hair for a fortnight. Then for the next 6 months, whenever he complains about not being informed about something, we can tell him it came up while he was away.
Is this why we're having so many summit conferences?
Well, of course. That's the only way the country works. Concentrate all the power at number 10, then send the PM away. To the EEC summits, NATO summits, Commonwealth summits, anywhere. Then the Cabinet Secretary can get on with running the country properly.
Anyway, we ought to be seeing him now.
Bernard, what do you think of the Minister's Washington speech that Peter wrote? British government administration is a model of loyalty, integrity and efficiency. There's a ruthless war on waste, where cutting bureaucracy to the bone, a lesson Britain could teach the world.
And is it true? Can we prove it?
Oh, Bernard, a good speech isn't one where we can prove the minister is telling the truth. It's one in which nobody else can prove that he's lying.
Yes. But even so,
Yeah?
well, I'm sure Peter did a frightfully good job on it and everything, but I just wondered whether perhaps it might have been a bit boring for the audience.
Well, of course it was boring. Bored the pants off them. Ghastly to have to sit through it, I should think.
Well, then, I mean, if
Well, ministers' speeches aren't written for the audience they're speaking to, Bernard.
Aren't they?
Delivering a speech is just a formality you have to go through in order to get the press release into the papers. We can't worry about entertaining people. We're not script writers for a comedian. Well, not a professional one, anyway. No, the point is that the speech said the right things.
But why does it have to be said in public?
Well, it's vital. Once the speech is printed, the minister is committed to defending us in front of select committees and things.
But he defends us anyway.
Well, only to a point, Bernard. Once something goes wrong, the minister's first instinct is to rat on his department. So, we write him a speech that makes him nail his trousers to the mast.
Oh, you mean nail his colours to the mast?
No, nail his trousers to the mast. Then he can't climb down. Come on. Welcome home, Minister.
Bernard, didn't you say there were some press cuttings of my Washington speech somewhere?
Yes, I put them in the box.
Oh! Actually, it was an error which occurred before certain important facts were known. And I can assure you it is an oversight that couldn't possibly happen again. Wouldn't you agree, Minister?
Sir Humphrey's reply is perfectly correct.
Thank you.
The correct official reply. But I have been thinking very deeply over the last few days since we last met. And there's no doubt in my mind that this committee is on to something. Of course there's... And of course excuses can always be found in individual cases. But you have convinced me that our whole approach is wrong. Ministers and their civil servants so often cover up and defend, where they should seek out and destroy. I have spoken to Mr. Malcolm Rhodes, the author of this invaluable book, and he has agreed to head an independent outside inquiry into the whole field of government administration, starting with my department.
And how does Sir Humphrey react to this?
Oh, Sir Humphrey is in complete agreement with me. We work as a team, don't we, Humphrey? If I may say so, he is a pleasure to work with.
But, Minister, this account of what's been going on doesn't square with what you were saying in your Washington speech about a ruthless war on waste.
Well, I'm an old-fashioned sort of chap, Betty. And I believe in a thing called loyalty. Whatever you say about your chaps in private, you defend them in public, isn't that so, Humphrey?
In that case, aren't you being rather disloyal to them now?
No, I believe that a minister has a higher loyalty. A loyalty to Parliament, a loyalty to the nation. And that loyalty must be paramount. However hard, however painful that may be. Well, of course, one is loyal to one's department and to one's officials until the evidence is overwhelming. But I must now say in public what I've long said in private, that reforms can and will take place. And I know that in this I shall find in Sir Humphrey my staunchest ally. Isn't that so, Humphrey?
Yes, Minister. Yes, Minister. That was a big help, Minister.
Well, I did my best.
You did your best for yourself, so this is your idea of teamwork, is it? Oh, most amusing.
Well, I had to do it.
You had to do what? Cravenly admit everything to that committee? Don't you realise how calamitous this has been for us?
Well, not both of us, I hope.
You hope in vain, Minister. The department is up in arms. They'll have very little confidence in you in the future. And as for number 10, well, I shudder to think how the PM will react to your public admission of failure.
A personal letter from the Prime Minister.
I did warn you, Minister. Bernard, perhaps you should give some thought to drafting a face-saving letter of resignation for the Minister.
Dear Jim. Dear Jim. We haven't seen enough of each other lately. Would you be free to come to lunch at Chequers on Sunday? We shall just be the family. Do please bring Annie and Lucy. I look forward so much to seeing you.
I don't think I...
It's paid off. It has paid off.
A conspiracy. That drink with Mark Spencer.
We haven't seen enough of each other. Lunch at Chequers, just the family. And look, it's handwritten. Do you realise, Humphrey, how much this is worth?
I believe the going rate is 30 pieces of silver, Minister.